Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here then hi. It is time for another chit chat video, and I wanted to check in with y'all, like how's the year been treating you? How are you feeling about New Year's? I know me personally, I feel really prepared for 2026. I have been reflecting so much on my life in the past few years and like how I've grown, and I really thought I entered a new era last year, but like the more I thought about it, the more I realized like, yes, I technically entered like a new time of my life, but it wasn't really like a new era of myself. And I've just been kind of like applauding myself for all the growth that I've gone through and all the hard work I've put into myself and being consistent with my boundaries, my goals, and keeping up with my aspirations and making sure that I'm actually building a fulfilling life that feels genuine and authentic to me, and it's not based on wanting to be perceived successful or to be perceived by other people as like a certain kind of thing. So yeah, I think we should just chat. Like, how can you embody the most authentic version of yourself? I was watching the Madeline Argy, I think that's how you pronounce her name. I feel like I resonate so deeply with what she talks about in her podcast and like how she's overcome trauma. Like, I feel like I share very similar experiences, and like the ways that I've overcome those experiences have looked kind of similar, like having the same realization that, like, wait a minute, I need to stand up for myself, and also like building up confidence as someone who struggles with anxiety and like what it looks like to be successful as a person. I had the biggest realization this year, and that was, what am I doing that's not validating myself? Okay, I'll be honest, I've been filming this while like standing on my knees because this is just like the best angle that I can get right now without the light messing it up, but I have to sit. I'm sorry, I just have to sit. So, yeah, like validation is so interesting. I'm somebody who attaches themselves to people, and it's so ironic because in my last chit chat video, I was just talking about detachment and like learning how to detach and how to focus on yourself. And I felt like I struggled with certain things that I mentioned in that video, but something that I really struggle with is being able to put myself in a social setting that shows that I like care for the people around me. I feel like I sound like a narcissist or like egotistical or like just self-centered when I'm talking about these things, but I really struggle to connect with people, and because of that, I feel like I'm in a like internal war with my mind where I'm like overthinking what I'm saying, or I start doubting myself. I start doubting my ability to make friends. It feels like even when I'm like really close with somebody, I'm constantly chasing what that closeness should feel like, even if the other person isn't doing anything wrong, because that's the truth. Like 99% of the time, what I struggle with is just something that I am struggling with. It does not mean that there's an actual problem, but my brain likes to convince me that there is a problem, so I have to work harder in order to achieve a certain outcome. I was talking about this like idea of connectedness, and for me that feels like I'm receiving validation that I'm doing something right, or that as time goes on, this person starts to understand me more, and then eventually we'll get to a spot where I don't have to work as hard to achieve this goal of connectedness, right? And it's so weird. It's just so weird because this exists in all my relationships. This isn't just like with my significant other, this occurs across all relationships. And it's so exhausting. It really is. When you're constantly trying to put effort into something that you think needs to be obtained, and you don't recognize that you have basically already obtained this goal, you're gonna reach a state of burnout because your brain is not allowing you to appreciate what you have. I think that's why people talk about the role of gratitude in one's life. Like, you should like affirm yourself daily by giving yourself reasons to be grateful and how you can include gratitude into your life. Like, for example, this year I have been struggling with landing a good job with my degree, and it was making me so frustrated because I felt unworthy of anything significant, and I felt like what I was doing wasn't good enough. And then it finally hit me, like last month, where I was like, wait a minute, I have gotten the thing that I am chasing after. I'm just not like appreciating it as much, and I'm not telling myself like I'm grateful that I get to work hard. You know, like that's the thing. Like all this time I was like, oh, I could have been doing so much more. Like if I had the job, I could be making more money, or I could be doing something more significant, something more fulfilling to myself. But I didn't realize that I could take a step back and appreciate what I already have. It's so convoluted, but anxiety makes it convoluted. Anxiety makes you believe that you will always have to do more. So it takes a lot of effort to also learn how to turn your brain off. And when you kind of come to the conclusion like, oh, my anxiety is impacting my life, then you're going to start putting effort into controlling that anxiety, which also feels like a goal that needs to be obtained. So then you're stuck in this cycle where you're like pushing yourself to the limit in every area of your life, not giving yourself a break, and then boom, one day you feel like you hit rock bottom, you have a horrible day. So we've talked about this validation seeking behavior, right? So I'm not saying that everybody who's watching this video is dealing with the same thing, but I think it's important that we all try to learn how we can validate ourselves rather than relying on others to give us that validation. I think one way you can do this is by standing up for yourself to do things for yourself. Like, for example, let's say somebody is wishing they were in a relationship. They wish they were loved by people around them. They're yearning to be loved. They'll spend so much time trying to obtain that goal that they tend to neglect how to love themselves. And I'm not saying that this happens to everyone, but this is certainly a unique situation that can happen to a lot of people. So that begs the question, how do you learn to love yourself? How do you learn to validate yourself? How can you stand up for yourself if you feel like in order to be loved by someone, you have to give them your all, you have to show your all? Again, this is not just romantic relationships. Maybe you really want to seek the validation of your boss or a friend or even a parent. And the thing is, like, nobody is going to be able to read your mind. Even though we're all people and we're all capable of experiencing the same kind of feelings, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of us are going to be able to recognize when somebody needs something from us. I know everyone says it, but it's the honest truth. You have to be able to communicate what you need in order for your goals to be met. I am a firm believer in some manifestation work. I do think that if you're focused on a goal and you stay determined, eventually you'll get somewhere with it. But that only comes with staying focused, staying consistent, and making sure that other things aren't getting in the way of your progress. You can have setbacks, that's all a part of the process, but if you eventually give up on what you're trying to achieve because you're like, actually that's not realistic for me, or actually this too much of this is happening, I can't do that. Girl, baby steps. Nothing can happen overnight, but what you can do in an instant is figure out exactly what you need to say to others in order for them to give you what you need. It may not work all the time, but that's what I'm saying. There may be some setbacks, but that doesn't mean that your progress has to stop right there. Communication between two people, or a lot of people can be very difficult, especially when the needs that you want feel like very simple ones and someone's not always understanding what you need. So for example, if you're yearning for this feeling of connectedness between you and a person, whether that's you and your significant other, or you want your boss to appreciate you more, or you want your family to value you more and they see you as a hardworking person and you want that external validation from them, what you need to be able to recognize is what is something that another person can actually give me and what is something that I can give myself. It's all about the balance and the equilibrium in the big picture, you know what I mean? I'm gonna cut this short because I have lots to do today, but I do appreciate you for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.